Wired. Unplugged.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wired Unplugged podcast, episode 46. How are you doing, Aaron?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm doing all right, thank you very much. I'm doing a lot better now that I know that, like the number 46, we are also in the top 50 in Bulgaria. This podcast is a certified Bulgarian classic.
No, there's a theory. There's a theory internally about why that may be. And Steve believes it's down to our good friends at I always struggle to say the name. Heimont, who works with on Victor Vran, awesome bunch of developers, very rock and roll. And we have a feeling that, you know, they've been spreading the word amongst fellow Bulgarians. It's like, go check this out, but in Bulgarian.
I've been looking into Bulgarian dishes. So I'm actually, for our Bulgarian fans next week, I will give you a review of a food I will make at home called Dragon's Breath. Okay, so there we go.
Dragon's Breath.
Yeah, it's a tripe soup, and I'm going to do it for the culture. And I'll be back next week with a Dragon's Breath review. So
this has nothing to do with anything, but you just said Dragon's Breath, and there is another breath-related food item to do with a far-off land. So in Afrikaans, right? Yeah. So South Africa, they have something called spurkassem, right, which translates into English as ghost breath. Yeah. And it's candy floss.
It's candy floss. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it.
That was
Ghost Breath. I'm here for that.
That's really cool. That's a really good username, by the way. I don't know if Ghost Breath will be taken on Twitter.
It's an ASMR channel, isn't it?
Spooky themed ASMR. If you're on Twitter, and I don't recommend looking up the user Ghost Breath because I have no idea if they're a channel and they might post horrible stuff. But what you can do is look up us. We're at Wired Unplugged. We're on there. There's also Wired P, which is the general umbrella Wired, sort of hive mind where you can find out. Yes. And you can P for poltergeist, paranormal activity. And you can find out stuff. So you can actually use the podcast Twitter account to ask us questions. That's where most of the people do it. You can also email us at unplugged@wireproduction.com. Most people tweet us stuff, and we basically use that to kind of springboard a question and answer aspect of the show, which we'll get into in just a little bit. So that's exciting. In case you just joined us and you don't know how to use Twitter, there's a quick bit of mansplaining for you. All right, let's get into some propaganda and see what we've all been up to this week.
Wired propaganda.
You know, I'd like to take this opportunity to say that I kind of describe how to use Twitter every week, just in case somebody's new. But I wanted to say a big shout out to everybody who listens to this every week and hears me explain Twitter every week. I really appreciate that. And
let's be honest. As it stands, it changes every week at the moment. So
it does, yeah. Have we got square profile pictures right now, or are they circle? Look at I just do
4,000 character limit.
Oh my gosh, yeah. In this essay, okay, so this is a section of the podcast where we take a look at what's going on at Wired Towers and see the latest and greatest. It's 2023. We've had the sort of, the easygoing first week.
We're easing back in. Things are going to start going crazy.
Yeah. Well, how did they start this week? What have we got going on?
So we all remember the game Arcade Paradise over Christmas. It made it into best games of 2022, which is amazing. Before Christmas as well on PC, we released a new set of DLC, which was Kung Fury. Yeah. A new cabinet that you can get in the game, which again, full-length game experience, really cool. Jake, as you mentioned, based on a movie. No Hoff measures. Anyway, I can bring that in. Featured David Hasselhoff. But the DLC is now coming. Actually, by the time this has gone out, it is out now on Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox formats.
There we go.
It's out now. You can play it. So, listen to this at the same time.
Yeah.
Get Kung Fury on.
Yeah.
See what it's all about.
Yeah. And to sort of try and explain what Kung Fury is like without, getting into any particularly difficult lawsuits, you can just kind of rage around in the streets. You know what I mean? So if that helps you kind of set the tone in your head.
Streets of disquiet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's certainly a commotion going on in them streets.
Yeah.
But so you can check that out alongside 35 other games in case you don't know what Arcade Paradise is. But you probably should find out.
Yeah, there's more though. Because we don't want to stop there. Yes. So there's going to be more information soon, and this is a bit of a tease, but we've already announced that there is more DLC coming to Arcade Paradise, and next month there will be a brand new set of DLC for the game. So stay tuned for more details. It's going to be. I think people are going to be happy. I think people are going to be happy with in terms of offering up some interesting alternative game machine.
That's really, really interesting because what I do know is that Kung Fury is the first sort of licensed game that's been added, and I'm like, and I was like, okay, well, I'll find out next week.
What would you like? What would you like to see?
Oh, can I tell you? Well, actually, I'll tell you something. I haven't seen it since it came out. Sorry, this is a tangent. I promise it's going to come back. Thank you in advance, everybody. When I was a young man. No,
when I was a young boy.
In the UK, there's a cinema chain called Cineworld. I don't know if they're still about. I don't know if they've gone bust or whatever.
You're right.
I can't remember if they have, but they're still around. But it takes ages for them to sort of just, Anyway, whatever. I used to work for Cineworld. Before that, though, I used to have this Cineworld Unlimited card, and it's like a Netflix subscription. You pay every month, and you can go and see unlimited movies in the cinema. Back in the day, I went, and they used to have mystery movies. Anyway, I went back ages ago, and the mystery movie was this thing called Wreck-It Ralph, right?
Yeah.
And I saw it 2 months before it came out. You had to
Blimey.
Yes. Anyway, I haven't seen it since. And then 2 days ago, I watched Wreck-It Ralph again. I was like, blimey, it's just like Arcade Paradise. And that gave me some, because I forgot just how many references to real things are in there. Because there's in it, there's Sugar Rush, and then there's Hero's Duty, which is not really anything, but they have real licensed characters in there. They've got Zangief, Bowser, and there was a rule.
Right, about that Bowser should be the largest.
Bowser has to be the
against
largest.
I can't. It's kind of like Sakurai, Masahiro Sakurai working on Smash, right? And all of these different. Yeah, it's a mind. It's always impressive that a game gets made anyway, but when you start to throw in all of these different licenses and Smashes, all these different guest characters going at it against each other, all the specific requirements to represent the character well, but then also in terms of it's really funny because they have very strict orders. So anyway, the point I'm making is that when Ralph's in the little in between, when he's hopping between games. You can see all these references, they don't really ever explicitly show it, but it just has names of the games on doors. So they had Altered Beast, Dig Dug. Rise from your grave.
So and so in spirit of that classic weird bit crushed voice line, I'd like a bit of Altered Beast. Or do you know what? Dig Dug is a bit of a classic, to be honest. Dig Dug is a bit of a classic. I actually had some Dig Dug Deeper, I think it was called. That was one of the first PC games I ever had. So it would be one of them too. But yeah, so shouts out Altered Beast.
Altered Beast? I'm there with you on that. That would be awesome. Because I played Altered Beast as a kid, right? But my dad also, I don't know why, but I remember once he bought me Altered Beast on Tiger handheld. It was there was bespoke handheld, and it was just Altered Beast, and the sound for it was just it's yes.
That's my favorite thing. So iconic, and the logo as well. The logo and the name is proper like a death metal band as well. I work with Sega, and I was like, can I have one of them Altered Beast t-shirts? But they're in such high demand that they said no. So thanks for nothing, Sega.
You works with them. Let's update those.
Altered Beast. Where I draw the line.
That's where I draw the line.
That's good. I'll tell you what I did think about when I was thinking about Wreck-It Ralph. Another little tangent. Maybe we could add this to Arcade Paradise because then I'll actually play it. Qbert. Because I don't know what the hell that is.
Oh yeah.
Look cool, but I realise I've never played it. So
what I would like is I don't know if you ever had one of these or experienced one of these as a kid, but there used to be these little handheldy type things, and essentially they were just filled with water. You have two buttons.
They had hoops.
Yeah, I'd love that.
I would be hours on that, and I'd get nowhere. They are mental. Yeah. That's such a good fun.
All those beautiful digital virtual water physics.
Yeah. All right, that's a beautiful thing, So hey, yeah, great.
and maybe like part of it because you know that like with Arcade Paradise, it's never this is this game, right? It's always like a twist and a turn and change and a fusion. I think what would be good at the same time is if like it's about a war, and when you're doing that, there's like sea monkeys like living in there as well, and they're growing and stuff. Oh,
come on, just a little bit of pizzazz. There we go. You can have that for free. So you know, yeah.
Dre, Dre, here all day.
What else have we got going on in the world of Wired this week?
So last week, we mentioned that before Christmas, we did a cool announcement with Nintendo about Tin Hearts.
Yeah.
And that game is very, very much, very quickly coming for Nintendo Switch. We've announced the date on Switch. But next week, you know, if you want to know where it might be coming to other formats, you might want to swing by. Just saying.
Next week. That's brilliant. This is it. Do you know what I've got to tell you? This is one of my most anticipated games of the whole year.
That's good because that segues me into the fact that, you know, also next week you may or may not be able to get information on playing a beta, a brand new shiny hot beta for the game. So, you know, I know you're excited for it, so you can potentially sign up and sink some hours into this.
Discord. That's it. I really should join the Discord. I'm going to do that right after this podcast, actually. So if you want to come and hang out with me in the Discord, please do that. And we can talk about how good Tin Hearts is when we can play it. All right, cool.
You spoke about Cineworld as well.
Yeah.
Your time at Cineworld and the not secret cinema, but you know the mystery movie, and sometimes you might see something way ahead. That's going to come back later. That's going to come back later down the line in this flow. I promise.
All right. Yeah.
The final thing though, and it should come as no surprise. It should come as no surprise because we did an amazing live version of this last year. And hopefully maybe we can do it again. Who knows? But we are going to be going to PAX. Huzzah! Boston isn't ready. But of course it always is.
And that's PAX
so
East for the folks.
We're going to be at PAX. You know, usually on the second day you can swing by and grab some sort of big pastry that Leo has bought, an oversized one that is either the size of a chair or giant massive cannoli that we can never all eat. So you know,
it's a full meal. You know, I was going through my sort of memories of the last of 2022 to put on Facebook or whatever, and that Mike's cannoli.
Every year it's a tradition.
What a beautiful thing. So that's it. So the Wired Gang at PAX East.
So what we're announcing right now is we're going to be at PAX. That's exciting. What we're going to be showing.
I remember
Stay tuned. Last
time Gory Cuddly Carnage had the hearts and minds of the many. That went down a smash. And that was very exciting. And we're talking.
What also went down well is Jorg was there as well. And he, for some reason,
had an incredible Roomba.
He had a friend. He had a sidekick. In this robot that would just follow him around.
It had a little compartment, and he could store stuff in there. There was I don't think I ever saw cannoli in there at any point, but there certainly was stuff in there. Some stickers and whatnot.
Yeah. It consumes the cannoli. There's no way it's saving
it. Yeah. Imagine you put it in a robot and then you went to open it and it was just gone.
Yeah, it's like,
that's proof of sentience.
It's good cannoli.
Yeah. That's it. That sounds like an art house movie, right? Very, very cool. So yeah, more on that to follow in the weeks ahead. That's for week 2 of 2023.
That's good.
We're getting it popping, aren't we? Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. So all right, well, thank you very much, Propaganda Minister Extraordinaire. I still don't have a jingle for this part, to be honest. The questions and answers section. So I'll just remind everybody how Twitter works for the last time on this podcast. More on that next week. Yeah. So if you use Twitter, other social media platforms are available, but that's the one that we check the most because it's easiest to communicate with us. You can kind of ask us questions, and that's what people do. And the best question of the week, we normally theme a little part of the podcast about it. That is this section of the podcast. See, it's a lot easier if it's a 6 or 7 second bit of music instead of that, but now you've got the full context, all right? So this week's question, you know what? I'll read it this time.
Do you think the jingle would be heavy or soft or
ponderous?
Ponderous.
Yeah. It would have to end unresolved. So you could kind of Poirot.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say, like Knives Out Poirot-esque.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, so this week's question is courtesy of DK Chrissy, who asks, which single-player game would you like to play in either co-op or multiplayer? So that's a great question. And that end bit confused me a little bit because I was like, either co-op or multiplayer implies the existence of a sort of rival aspect to the multiplayer, which is quite interesting because I suppose, like, I don't know, if you're playing Fallout 4 or whatever, not 76, but like 4, and then there was, you know, an other, like Deathloop or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, what sort of came to mind for you when you thought of this?
I think what came to mind for me was the simple answer of any. I have no friends that I play games with anymore. And I'm like, it's just trying to make everything align
It's
to
so
get
difficult. Yeah.
co-op time. I think I would really like a joint connected horror experience, like along the lines of PT, where that experience is shared and you're all going along for the ride together, seeing certain things from different viewpoints, and someone might see something run across the staircase and you're like, what? Oh my god. I think that sort of experience would be interesting, like a shared horror experience. Because I once went that's a weird story, I think I've told it before, but I once went ghost hunting with Derek Akora from Most Haunted.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. And I asked him all these stupid questions about, what about dinosaur ghosts and things like that. Yeah. But he straight face gave me answers. I won't divulge. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, or is he? Yeah. We went ghost hunting together. It was great, and it was all it was in support of Saints Row Get Out of Hell. Saints Row Get Out of Hell edition. Yeah. One of the ghost hunting is very cool. And sharing that experience with people and going around, and everyone's skeptical, but you get swept up in the hysteria in the group. The littlest sounds are amplified because you're in a dark, silent space. And we went into like a ruined underground, flooded dungeony type thing that used to be a nightclub or something. Some weird thing, but it was part of Barnes, and someone got garroted there in typical Derek Akora fashion. Yeah, it was great, and there was something about having that moment together where it was like, ooh, chills. I think,
and so experience, because like, I guess horror stuff is becoming a bit more multiplayer, but they all are very anecdotal, so like Phasmophobia or whatever. But so actually, funnily enough, let's see if I can tie this to your answer, and we can make the Megazord answer. How about that?
Okay.
I was thinking about like the amount of games lately that are single player, but they've got such complex like AI companions that I was thinking like, why don't we just let someone else do that? I'll give you an example. God of War, right? You've got Dad and you've got the boy. The boy is such an integral part of the story. He can. You have to control him with your. You decide when he shoots arrows and all of that, and you're helping him aim. Why don't you just let another player do it? Yeah. Same with like, there's a lot of games where you've got like quite complex, integral companions that follow you all the way through. Another one, more on that in a bit. The Last of Us. So like Joel and Ellie. What happens if one of you just played Ellie?
That would be great, right?
Right, and so
Prince of Persia. Do you remember when they did the standalone Prince of Persia, and you had was it Elika or something? I can't remember the name, but you had like a companion character.
Exactly. That came out around the time of Ico or whatever. I think I spoke about a couple of episodes ago. But so maybe tying that in then. What about Resident Evil? Famously has 2 stories that you play through. You've got your Chris and your Jill, or blah 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 blah. You always got 2. Why not 2-player, both at once? And actually, they do cross paths, don't they? In quite a lot of it. What happens if maybe you started off somewhere, you met in the middle, you had a little bit together, then you veered off, you carried,
and then sort of like trade things that the other might be low on and stuff, and be like, okay, hopefully I'll see you on the other side, and then diverge again.
Exactly.
Do you know, there's something that I wish I could talk on. I worked at a company a long time ago, and it was, I'm talking a long time ago, and I'm not going to divulge any information, but they got to create a Silent Hill pitch. So I'm talking like a long time ago. That may have had a similar vibe, but you have to remember the technology was very different at the time, so it wasn't very viable. But that never got made. But I like that. I do like that idea, because I played Resident Evil 5, which
Yeah.
Well, it's not the best Resident Evil game, but I did play that in full co-op over a couple of nights. It was an amazing experience to go through it together, but it wasn't a horror game. It didn't feel horror or creepy. But I think if you could dial that up, and I think between us,
that was very. So here's the one-line pitch, right? Here's the one-line pitch for anybody listening. Okay, who doesn't picture this? Okay, PT meets Portal 2. Thank you very much. All right, okay, so there we go. If you'd like to sort of answer the same question, we'd love to hear. Last week, I was very curious to know what games the folks at home have been playing over Christmas. So for this week's question, which single-player game would you like to play in either co-op or multiplayer? There's so many good options, and a lot of the time your dreams can become reality. I remember Stardew Valley, a great game co-op, was single-player for years and years. People were really requesting it. So yeah, feel free to send us a tweet or an email, unplugged@wiredproductions.com. And next week, we will read out the answers to last week's question, just like now. Okay, last week, games played over Christmas. I was very curious. Well, we've got some answers. Should we take it in turns? We'll leapfrog.
Yeah. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, okay. So the first game played over Christmas came from Sean R. Murray, which is at Woodland Spirit on Twitter.
Lovely username.
If you would like to know how to use Twitter, rewind to listen to Jake once again. But they have been playing The Witcher 3 now that the next gen update has landed. The combination of quick resume and fast load times on Xbox Series X make this huge game very accessible if you can only play it in hour-long bursts. And so I agree with this. I think what a good game, especially at a time where you're trying to relax, to revisit something that you're comfortable with, that that you love, but also have this new visual upheaval and some new content added, I think is brilliant. And I totally agree with the quick resume and the fast load time things as well, because this is how I've had to play games. I've played some games over short periods of time that I have to just put in sleep mode, and then I'll come back to it. And I think that's amazing. The only downside I see to that is that you miss out on a really good title screen from time to time.
Exactly. And
I'm here for that.
Yeah, that's it. Because the Witcher's got that nice one where it kind of gives you the story so far when you reload it from the main menu. So but I mean you can trade that out for the fact that you can pick it up a lot easier, and especially when you're playing it in a piecemeal. So and I'm sure you're not alone. I'm sure tons of people, millions even, probably picked this up again over Christmas, considering that the update was free. So cool.
And I think what a good avenue to because I'm speaking anecdotally. I've seen a few people on that place Twitter, game journalists as well, but also just my brother, who were well into Witcher 3, but didn't play the very, very final DLC expansion, which is beast, right? It's like a whole thing. So I think again, just another reason to go back and get in. I think is
exactly. Go mop everything up, but now it's like So that's a great one. With Nail Marwood says Christmas Day we got Jackbox 9 out. It was carnage.
Is that euphemism?
Well, if it's a Jackbox player, probably is. Yeah, Jackbox, for anyone that doesn't know, is like Cards Against Humanity or whatever. And
incredible games and
incredibly dangerous to play.
Do you have a favorite one?
Oh, what Jackbox?
Not like a pack, but do you have a favorite game within Jackbox?
Yeah, I like the Fibbage. I like Fibbage. That's like the classic Fibbage, and I consider myself quite good at it because I played it at work actually, and I played it with my team, and I get into their heads and I try and answer like them. I'm like, probably like Among Us,
it's like poker. It's like poker, but
it is. Quippy, that's my favorite one, just a classic Fibbage, and the new one. I think it's Pipeout 9, right? That has the weird like movie scenes, but they seem to all be horror based, my ones. So I've been really enjoying that at the end.
So I haven't played 9 yet, but I think I do need to check it out. But my favorite one is I can't remember what party pack it's in, but it's the it's the one where you're like on a horror mystery tour game show type thing.
Yeah.
And you got the voiceover like, "Hello, welcome to the game," and then as it goes further, it gets a bit more stupid. And it's like, oh, that's not fair. Why'd you answer it? I don't get to cut your head off.
Yeah,
That's a cool one. I really love that one.
party
So,
it is, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good one. There's in the latest one they have this one where you kind of got to be like a salesman. Peter Molyneux would be really good at this. Like you just basically like you get given a random item and you've got like make this elaborate backstory with it and stuff like that.
Sell me this pencil.
Yeah, it's literally sell me this pencil, but it was like selling this statue of a raccoon, but it's got like a plastic bag stuck to it. You know, something like that. It's just, and then you've got to be like, oh, the reason for that is, so there we go.
Symbol of good luck.
And it writes itself. So yeah, Jackbox. That is an incredibly like Christmas Day type thing, isn't it? So, yeah, nice one. All right, good. That's it with Neil Marwood with Jackbox 9. What have we got?
So Eternal Steph. Hi, Steph. Wow, and more wow. The new Dragonflight expansion has been so much fun. So obviously, seemingly massive into World of Warcraft. I haven't played World of Warcraft for a long time now. I haven't checked out Dragonflight, but I don't know if you're in the mix or if you've got close people.
I got close people. people. You know,
got people in the mix.
I got my best man on it. I've got Steph's my chosen warrior for this. I think if I needed to ask anybody, I think what it is
Steph been streaming it.
I don't think so. No. I don't.
Are you on about Steph or Steph?
Actually, I was on about Eternal Steph this time, but Steph. My Steph Anime, friend of the show, she's a Final Fantasy convert, and actually, my brother, he was a big World of War. We used to play together, and we're old now compared to like a lot of the WoW players. You know, we played at Burning Crusade.
We were there at the beginning.
Well, yeah, that was it. And then Burning Crusade, and then Wrath of the Lich King was the last one that I played, which I think was 2008, right? And then since then, I remember Cataclysm came out. That had a nice box art. And that came out around the time of StarCraft 2. And since then, I can't remember any of them. There was that Mist of Pandaria, and this one came out in November. But and like, I'm not trying to. I'm just saying it. A lot of the people I know, completely anecdotally, not indicative of anything. The 5 or 6 WoW diehards I know, all of them are now on Final Fantasy 14, and I don't know what that is. But when I think back to it, they all quite like anime, so maybe there's something in it. But yeah, and so actually, I only know World of Warcraft really from watching Twitch, but I've seen a lot of people, you know,
South Park.
Yeah, it's that South Park episode is like the one I always think of. It's my favorite one. Yeah.
The Sword of a Thousand Truths.
But it's like Blizzard seem to have been, you know, kind of fallen out of favor with a lot of fan sentiment. But this new WoW is like, I think sentimentally, that's not a word, but you know, I mean, sentiment wise. It's probably the highest rated thing that they've done in a very long time. So it seems to be really making people happy, including Steph.
It's a very interesting thing, WoW, right? Because you know there was the time where it was MMO dominance,
complete dominance
by Blizzard, right? WoW was the first port of call. I do think that has swung to Final Fantasy. It's hard because obviously they've done something incredible with WoW.
Yeah.
But you have that conversation because they've also done the demakes, right? So going back to original sort of thing. But
that's right.
It's what do you do next with WoW now, especially now they're at the point of maybe there is a shift in balance between Final Fantasy and WoW. Do we now say, hey, we're going to release an up-to-date modern sequel? Because you know there is a disparity in the visuals and the feel.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Because and for those who don't really know, the World of Warcraft actually was a spin-off in itself because it was set in the world of Warcraft, which was its own series of games. It was a strategy series of games. The last one was Warcraft 3, wasn't it? I think. And then so now people kind of it's kind of like Persona and Shin Megami Tensei. People have kind of forgotten which one's a spin-off of itself. So what I'm saying is, in my mind, in an ideal world, I'd love it if the RTS kind of as a genre kind of had the resurgence and Warcraft could take its place. But the Warcraft universe, I know most of my lore about Warcraft universe from Hearthstone. You know, because you know, like Murlocs and whatnot. But it is strange because, like you say, they did. when I say strange, I don't mean that in any negative light. Like some people can say something's weird or strange in a bad way, but I do find it genuinely strange that they did this thing with World of Warcraft Classic, where 3 years ago they just went, okay, for anyone that didn't play the original, we're going to put the original back out again exactly as it was, okay? And that's kind of like not the gimmick, but how they have old school RuneScape. They've just gone, right, here's just the original again, and then now they're updating that. So it's like you've gone back in time, but not that long in time. Just like, you know.
Yeah.
They were making a World of Warcraft mobile game, but it got cancelled about 6 months ago. I know that.
I didn't know that.
I only knew that because like it was like a big news story because of the Diablo mobile game, and you know.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
that was Blizzard and NetEase that did that. So wow, yeah. I mean, literally, wow. It's interesting. Do you know what it is? I'm a fantasy kind of guy, right? So I'm always looking at it, and I look, you know, aesthetically, it's great, and I do remember my time in it. But yeah, that's a really good one. I'm not going to go down the tangent, but I tell you what, I've got a good question for a week's podcast. I might email in a question under a pseudonym. But I would like to know on a different day. I'll ask it another time officially. But like, I'm interested to know which MMOs people played the most.
I could go there right now, but
I know.
I'll save it.
Mine's like really weird.
Yeah.
All right, good. Yeah. So Steph's been smashing WoW to smithereens because of the new Dragonflight expansion. That's very, very good. Right.
Ho ho ho.
Finally, old artist, an ordinary artist, anything but ordinary here. My hero Curtis said he's played a couple of games. All right, look at this, a connoisseur. Played a couple of games. Started with Sonic Frontiers, that was the amuse bouche, and then Pokemon Violet, pretty fun despite some performance issues. Played Garfield Kart with my sister, which, well, is horrendous to put it nicely. To put it nicely. Called it horrendous, and then at the end went back to my old fave. Can't beat a better Binding of Isaac. Binding of Isaac is it's the one. Tell you what though, I'll say this: yesterday or the day before, started Pokemon Violet finally.
I have started it last week,
right?
I think. Yeah,
I like the music actually, and I actually
the music is cool.
Yeah, I'm playing it docked. Toby
Fox.
It's Toby Fox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Because I remember thinking, oh, this is actually a bit unusually, I don't know, Western kind of written. So I was like, I Googled it later, like, what's the piano? It's Toby Fox. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Who's from Undertale, for anyone that doesn't know what we're on about. Undertale.
Legend.
So, yeah, Pokemon. So weirdly, and I'll tell you what, though, performance issue-wise, hasn't been bad. A bit of frame rate drops. That's all I've seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything as bad as what I saw during that. You know, the mad phase of what the hell. You know, people growing and shrinking, and
yeah, exactly.
I will say though, how to phrase this? It is a fun Pokemon experience, right? It's very freeing to play and it feels nice. I will say that, you know, it's no better visually than Legends Arceus, Pokemon Legends Arceus, which it's what they can't seem to work out tech-wise at the moment is when it goes to looking over big landscapes. And how the level of detail is handled, because you know you end up with just the repeating water tiles or mountain tiles that you can see are just the squares repeated. And you know I don't think that is something that Game Freak are good at. What I will say is though, the Pokemon look great when you are just in the confined areas, just having battles and stuff. It feels nice. It looks okay, and you know I think people say, oh yeah, but you know. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, that looks amazing compared to this. And it's like, yeah, it does. But then also you have, you know, X hundred amount of Pokemon that have been accurately modeled, that have AI, that live in a world and do a thing. They're very different experiences, right? They've been built in different ways. And I think it's always good to know that gameplay has been put forward first. And that does feel good. It's just a shame that at the moment they don't seem to have... cracked the 3D visual side of it in terms of the world.
You know what made me feel really weird about everything when I was playing it? I thought, and I shouldn't think like this because this is a full price product or whatever, but I went, this is
you find Mr. Mime attractive.
No. Is Mr. Mime in it?
That's not weird. It's not, I don't know. Right? I don't know. I haven't got that far.
No. I actually thought, wow, this is a really good beta test for the next Pokemon that's going to come out on the next Nintendo console that has more power, because that's the only thing holding it back, right? That fidelity. Yeah. And I was like, imagine this with like the power of the PS5 behind it, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, because this is kind of the game that I wanted when I was a young boy, and I heard that Pokemon was coming to like N64. Yeah. And I was like, yeah. And then it was Snap and Colosseum. Nothing wrong with them. But in my head, I wanted the sort of Ocarina of Time Pokemon Red. So this is, the graphics aren't that dissimilar to some of the polygony mountains in some places. But this is what I mean. If they can polish that up, oh my gosh, like that, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I agree. And on that side, I don't think it's necessarily, because, there are people say, Pokemon team shouldn't be forced to put out a game this regularly and they need more time. Right. I don't think time is the issue on this. I think it's a technical,
for sure.
A technical ability, or some sort of team member that they are missing in some way. But yeah, I think because you have to remember they haven't made. As a team, they haven't made many 3D games at all. It's the same with Nintendo. Way back in the day, they hired people in to help with getting into the 3D space because they didn't have that expertise. Their expertise was in 2D parallax scrolling, mode 7, all of that sort of stuff. And they weren't experts, and that took them a long time to get into it. And it's the same with the Pokemon Company. It's like the second or third really 3D enabled game in this sort of era of tech. So
in a dead like weird like situation because of COVID and whatnot. So like but there we go. So but Garfield can't nothing to add really, apart from like, again, if that was you putting it nicely, my gosh, I'm glad I'm on the right side of this, lad. All right, good.
Glad you are.
So there we go. And just as a reminder then, that they were just literally people answering questions that I asked last week. And this week's question, once more, is which single player game would you like to co-op with? Which single player game would you like to play co-op or multiplayer? Which sort of, does that imply that there could be a PvP element to everything? You can ask us on Twitter or answer us, whatever, and we'll get on it. All right, thank you very, very much, everybody. That was a decent haul of answers in the festive season. I wish I asked what cheese the compliment they had of it, but I don't know. Right, let's have a look.
Pokemon with some brie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the cheese and wine pans. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's have a look at what's going on in the wider world, because you know what? Some things have caught my eye, and you've got them all here. So let's go. Jingle time.
News we stole from Google.
All right. If you're listening to this kind of live, contemporary, up to date, it's the end of the week. We're about to start the weekend. And there's only kind of one bit of news I've seen all week that has been on my timeline, and you've got it right here. So, Aaron, can you kick us off, please, with the big one that has been the discourse, as they would say on the internet this week?
Yeah. So, The Last of Us TV show we're on the cusp of it being able to watch it ourselves. But the reviews have started to land. For the series, and at the moment, they are pretty positive. There are some interesting outliers. Actually, it's quite interesting to see how it's been perceived by game outlets reviewing it versus entertainment outlets. It seems to be in the entertainment outlet side where it is being given probably more praise in terms of as a show. This is what it is. On the game side as well, it is still getting the same praise. There's some compliments towards some deviations and things that have been done slightly differently. There was an interesting one earlier that I saw, though, which was, in an era of many multiple zombie infested wastelands, why would this one perform any better? Which I'm I'm interested to watch it. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the steer from the reviews at the moment. It's mostly positive.
Yeah,
but on the flip side, again, related to The Last of Us, around there's been press tours, right? So obviously people involved with the show have been doing interviews and so on. That includes the main cast members, but it also includes Neil Druckmann as well, who The Last of Us, the video game series, is his baby. And he's made an interesting comment about future games, not necessarily to do with The Last of Us, but just in terms of game creation in general. And he would like to focus less on cutscenes and traditional narratives in games, and is intrigued by titles that don't hold the player's hand. And the first thing that comes to mind straight away is, well, Elden Ring's done that.
Exactly.
Yeah, Elden Ring did it.
Yeah, exactly. And
no, but there's Breath of the Wild as well.
Exactly.
A lot is implied by the environment.
Absolutely. I recently, and I mean literally 24 hours ago, completed in one sitting, again, Inside, the phenomenal video game by Playdead, which is the spiritual successor to Limbo. Playdead, of course, and No More. They split into two. Somerville came out a couple of months ago, and the new game by the other guy from Playdead, Arndt Jensen, is coming out soon, I guess. I'm really looking forward to it because I love what they do. What they did with Inside is told an entire story pretty much in the background of a 2D platformer with no words. And that is video games to me. My hot take on this, and it is a bit of a hot take, and hopefully it don't sound too miserable. When I read everywhere today, it's the best video game adaptation, the first thing I thought of was, well, what is the best video game adaptation it be? Well, in my opinion, it was Castlevania. And what they did with that, and that, I reckon that for two reasons. One, half the people I know, anecdotally, again, didn't even know that was a video game first. They just thought it was a Netflix show. And two, they took a load of nonsense about vampires and turned it into a fully fleshed thing. Now, my thing with The Last of Us is, and again, look, I'm happy to watch it and everything like that, but it was a film anyway. It was a film anyway.
Yeah.
The game, and I'm glad when you wrote this, Aaron sends me the stuff ahead of time. I didn't know what you just said about Neil Druckmann. And I was happy because that has been my kind of, my little moany little gripe about video games lately. Not too moany because I'm still incredibly positive about it. I just wish that there was a little bit less focus on the cutscenes. Remember, I was talking about it with God of War. Yeah. And I actually think that the kind of thing that really brought that into fashion is the Naughty Dog stuff being such a great example of it. So The Last of Us, of course it's going to be a great adaptation because really, it's a film anyway. It's a Western, isn't it? It's about two people that don't want to have anything to do with each other. And over the course of the story that plays out through the narrative, they learn and they adapt and they grow. And it took so much from TV and film that, when you think about The Last of Us, how many of you at home are thinking about the gameplay? You're not. You're thinking of the amazing story. So I'm really glad that the story is good in this, as it should. But what I'm trying to say is, it was all right there for them, wasn't it? Whereas, for me, Castlevania, they had to really...
I'm interested to see it because, apparently they have, and these aren't spoilers, but the things that have been put out publicly in interviews and so on, they have made some deviations and changes to make sense for a TV show. Now, I don't know if they're necessarily plot-specific deviations in terms of, how you thought we were going to go right, but we went left. For example, they've done little things like the spores don't exist now. Where everyone used to have the masks, otherwise you'd get infected sort of thing. And now there's these tendril things instead,
right?
Which have stepped in. Yeah. So, there are interesting things like that. And I wonder if they factor into any sort of other thing or not. And if they take any bigger side steps or elaborate in different areas.
What they've got, actually, without being too much of a little armchair pundit about it, they've got something incredibly powerful that a lot of adaptations didn't have. I'll give you an example. Resident Evil, right? The Resident Evil movies, they're stupid and fun, That's a good thing, by the way. Not everything has to be clever and serious. It's funny. It's Mila Djokovic spin-kicking skinless dogs into laser beams and all that for like 5 or 6 films, right? But Is it Resident Evil? Not really. Well, what this has is it not only has it got a very nice plot to follow, but any deviations are being steered by Neil Druckmann, who's pretty much the creator of it, who's actually gone on record to say quite a lot of the changes here are actually how we originally envisaged the story. So they've got this incredible thing of having an opportunity to kind of retell something in a way that's not only true to the original, but kind of how the original might have actually been, because, you know, you are making a video game. So these spores that you describe, if anyone doesn't know, that there are spores and there's parts of the game we've got to put a gas mask on and it limits the player's vision. So, you know, that might have been a game design choice.
Yeah.
Because maybe the tendrils could have been a bit boring mechanically. So they've got that brilliant thing of actually being able to have the original. You know, when they did the Evil Dead remake, that was Sam Raimi as well.
Yeah.
So he's like, look, this is kind of what I wanted to do originally, but I had no budget. And no one can go,
I'm successful now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, hey, that's the big news this week, really, is that we've got this really, really high profile adaptation of a beloved game. The Last of Us, I think, is the 4th highest rated game of all time. Yeah. And right off the back of this, the guy who's done it has gone, do you know what I want to do? Less of this. I want to make some games that aren't holding your hand. Yeah. Good lad, Neil. So, that's an interesting story for me. Yeah. All right. This is
so here's the thing. We did so much before this. Again, we don't have time for everything. So do you want to pick? Do you want to pick which one floats your boat?
I think because we've already done the movie one, we can cut the Borderlands movie one, but we'll read it out loud anyway, shall we?
Yeah, that was going to be my revisit to your Cineworld days in terms of pre-screens. No, it's fine though, because essentially there was some early screenings of the Borderlands movie last year in 2022 when the film was meant to originally come out. The film hasn't come out, and at the moment there is going to be 2 weeks of reshoots. Eli Roth, who's directed the movie, isn't going to be handling those because he's got another project. So Tim Miller is going to step in for the 2 weeks to finish off the reshoots. Okay. I wonder what they're reshooting. I wonder why it missed its release date. At the moment, there is no new release date confirmed for the movie. But you know, the cast itself seems very solid. It looks like a very good cast, and I'm intrigued to see how it all comes together. But you know, every movie has reshoots.
Yeah, so some months down the line, like, you know,
it doesn't mean, oh my god, there's trouble. No. I think that no new release date means there's trouble, but but I'm intrigued. You know, I in my past have worked on Borderlands, and you know, with Gearbox, and the people over there for the most part are very wonderful individuals, and I'm interested to see how it takes a step into the silver screen.
Oh, very good. All right. Well, I think we burnt through that. I reckon, I'll tell you what, why don't we burn through the other one and then we can go straight into the big, juicy Xbox one. So, because this is one that's relevant to this isn't relevant to our friends in Bulgaria, the legions of you that there are, but it might be one day. But right now, this is a very UK focused story that has been probably on your timeline as much as it has in mine. But Playground Games, Forza Horizon, studio, as well as the studio working on the new Fable. Well, some of the leads there have basically formed a new AAA studio in Leamington Spa, one of the most prominent areas of UK video game development.
Where I had my first game in job as well.
Honestly, I went there once. It was lovely. There was a great duck pond there. Yes. And I thought, wow, this is where it all goes down, huh? Yeah, and that's it. Very nice, quiet place.
Cody's around the corner, you know.
Exactly. And there's been a new studio called Maverick Games. The first game, all we know about it is that it's going to be open world. So
not tied to any specific genre at the moment. So they haven't said it's a racing game.
No.
Exactly.
Other. So. Yeah. Could be interesting.
Exciting though. Exciting. Leamington Spa, wonderful place.
Yeah, exactly. So shouts out Lemmy Spa. Right.
Good sandwich shop as well.
The finest and probably the most prominent bit of news for the weeks ahead, certainly, is that, well, what have we got here? Would you like to do the honors?
Yeah, so word for the grapevine is that Microsoft are potentially having a brand new Xbox showcase, which is apparently planned for late January. there are some titles that are tipped off as being shown there, but I think what I want to talk about is what do you think? What would you like to see from Xbox? And we have to remember now that Xbox is technically includes the likes of Obsidian, Bethesda, you know, a lot of massive studios with a lot of titles on. Personally, for me, I would like to see more direct from Xbox first party in terms of their key core studios. You know, we know that there's a lot going on. There's a new Perfect Dark being made at the moment. There is it Everwild?
That's the rare joint, yeah.
The rare game, yeah. Like Sea of Thieves has done incredibly well for them, continues to be a success. Really cool content continues to be added to it. I'm excited to see what they do with Everwild, because I got to meet I spoke about visiting Rare for the Game Jam before, right? I think.
Yeah, that's it.
When I was there, I got to meet
the guy that wrote your letter back about
Lee. Yeah. But when I was there as well, I got to meet Louise O'Connor. I think their name is, who is one of the key members on Everwild now, but also did the voice of the gardener in Viva Pinata. I just randomly started doing the voice to me, and I was like, this is amazing. Oh, actually, sorry, no, that wasn't for the Rare Game Jam. That was just I went to visit one time a couple of years after that. It was a couple of years ago.
Lovely. They had your back.
And it was nice of them. But I'm excited to see what they're doing with that. You know, it seems like they're doing something experimental and interesting, and I think we could all do with more interesting experimental quality-based things out there.
I couldn't agree more. Actually, the new Rare thing is what I would like to see the most. I remember I was deep in the YouTube news cycle as a YouTuber. I mean, when Sea of Thieves came out, and I remember watching the kind of conversation go from "What the hell do we do in this game?" to "Oh, we make our own fun. That's annoying." To "Oh, we make our own fun. That's cool." To
this is great.
This is fun. You know, it's like watching people like look at loads of Lego bricks and then slowly realize what they can do with it. And I just have so much love for Rare. I still think that, like, I don't actually think that they've, you know, I don't know. I've got a lot of love for it. And so, I still believe in the Rare magic. Like, look, I mean, for me, there's one thing I want to talk about from Obsidian. Obsidian, for me, are a very complicated studio, because I am like, it's really hit or miss. But when it's a hit, it's a critical hit. And they're responsible for some of my favorite IP in the whole of video games.
Pentiment.
Pentiment is a one that did really, really well recently, right? But even the Black Isle days of Obsidian, they did Outer Worlds and Grounded. They were probably the last big outputs from them. Grounded.
And Outer Worlds 2 has been announced as well.
Yeah, exactly. So Outer Worlds, I kind of fell off that, but I know that it's probably because I've got a bit of an aversion to that kind of like sort of 50s sci-fi stuff. But I'll tell you what, I am a sucker for, despite it being so homogenous and samey, and how many times can you see a glowing sword and a fireball? Well, apparently not enough. Avowed. AKA Skyrim New Vegas, isn't it? Basically,
this is interesting though, right? Because you know, Xbox, they have Obsidian and they have Bethesda, and you have a studio here that are making the Outer Worlds and Avowed, and then you have a studio here that is making Fallout and and Elder Scrolls, and it's like.
Kiss.
Don't get me wrong. I'm just intrigued because there's similarities, but they're also very incredibly different as well. So, Avowed though, the moment I first saw that, I was like, this looks great.
Yeah, Avowed is my sort of thing, and you know, I do like the graphics of Outer Worlds. I thought it was good. The thing for me about Outer Worlds, it was a bit. Not disappointing, I suppose, but the thing that was a bit like, it was the scope. I was kind of like, you know, so, but with Avowed, because now it's going to be, I'm assuming it's going to be a little bit more of a funneled experience rather than like a Skyrim size thing. You know, I'm hoping that'll be something. But I'm ready. You know, I'm fairly sure I can guess that there'll be no Starfield. That's like a, you know, in the marketing world, they call it like what, tentpole moment. Like they could drop anything. Literally, Bethesda could drop tomorrow. LOL, Starfield trailer coming tomorrow. See you soon, XOXO. And everybody would drop what they're doing. It's like Nintendo dropping a direct, right? They don't need
Rockstar.
to. I don't think. Yeah, it's their Rockstar moment, isn't it? Surely they don't have another chance to do this until the new Elder Scrolls. So I'd like that. Of course, I'm sort of, like in a horror movie, like when you watch a horror movie and you peek through your eyes like that. That's what I'm like with the new Fable. I'm morbidly curious, but I really want it to do well.
I think Fable would be saved for E3.
Fable's an E3 moment, isn't it? That's a mic drop moment. That's a one more thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because we don't necessarily understand how far along it is, but. I think if anything, maybe it is a good one to save as a key core, powerful experience for E3.
Do you know? I've got one last.
Crackdown 4. Is that what you're going to say? Crackdown 5?
No, it's a weird one. It's a bit of a weird one, but hopefully everyone listening goes, "Oh yeah." Bethesda have a lot of studios under their wing, and one of the kind of I wouldn't say the most prominent, but a game that quite delighted a lot of people when it came out, and people were actually surprised at how nice it was Wolfenstein, the recent Wolfenstein reboots by Machine Games. So what I will say is, whether it's a new Wolfenstein or not, I don't really care, but Machine Games, that studio, have been quiet for about 6 or 7 years since Wolfenstein 2.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see what they do, because they have the makings of a studio that could do a sort of Titanfall-esque kind of really high quality shooter with a really, really nice scope story and things without it being bloated. So I don't know, like Machine Games, whatever they're up to, I'm really interested, because all they've done historically is Quake, like the original Quake, Wolfenstein, the Wolfenstein reboots, and that's it. So who knows what they're up to? But that's
Yeah, I like that. I think I enjoyed the Wolfenstein games that they did as well. I didn't get to play the DLC, but
I mean, the funny thing was,
Old Blood and New Blood.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I swear it was on Game Pass and I still missed it. But there we go. So yeah, but look, top of the pile.
Wait and see.
Rare stuff, to be honest.
Do you think? And again, it's probably best served for E3, but it's hard to balance that many studios with that many games to put forward the most. It's interesting, because maybe we don't have time to go into this, and we'll see how this announcement pans out and talk about it again. But
almost definitely.
I am very interested to see, though, what is going to be tentpole for Xbox game studios. Because there's Halo is doing whatever Halo's doing. Gears of War. I wonder what sort of, if there will be a new IP or a core franchise that comes back in a grander way. Because I do feel like there is something.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't think they've got enough, they haven't got enough IP in their tank like Nintendo, where they can just rotate an Animal Crossing, a Pikmin, or whatever over and over and over again.
Yeah.
They've got Master Chief, and they've got whatever. What's that lad with the big chest?
Forza.
Marcus Phoenix. Is that him? With Gears?
Yeah.
Or whoever it is now. Probably not even Marcus Phoenix anymore, is it? But yeah, then that's the thing. To me, like the Halo thing, everyone's saying, Halo can do whatever Halo's up to. It's like people don't know what's happening with Halo. Remember Infinite? It's changed so much. So I wonder what they're cooking up. What I think we will see, like almost definitely, is, because we spoke about it. Actually, we ended last week's podcast talking about this, and I guess we'll do the same. Redfall, that Bethesda.
Yes.
Is it Arcane? I can't remember. The vampire-y Boston game.
That's soon.
It's soon, and it's so soon from Bethesda that I think that's why when we were kind of talking about Starfield's coming out the first half of this year.
Bethesda
are also putting out Redfall, and surely they want both of those games to do really well.
Yeah,
time's ticking on. I reckon we're going to see Redfall this month, and we'll see Starfield just before PAX. That's my complete guess. I mean,
interesting.
Just shooting wildly in the dark here. I've been right before, and I've been completely wrong before. So we'll find out.
Haven't we all? Haven't we?
Yeah, that's the fun. That's the fun of it. Well, yeah. Thank you everybody for joining us for another episode. Can't believe that we're starting the year with some things to look forward to. And then next week, you're going to find out a little bit more information about Tin Hearts. You're going to have some information about some betas, and we're probably going to be one step closer to find out just what the heck Xbox are doing this year, because they're seemingly the ones making all the moves the last few weeks. So, yeah. Thank you very much, Aaron. Thank you to the folks.
Pleasure.
Thank you to Bulgaria as a nation. We'll see you on episode 47. You're all wonderful. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Unplugged.